Alright, so I'm making this video in regards to mostly this book by Rudolf Steiner, An Outline of Occult Science. A great book by a very smart man, and so I'll be making other videos to explain different parts of this, because this is just the first part of it, and I like to make videos about like how you can use it as well. So this one will be, well, a lot of theory, but also, explaining the reason why we have all of these. So 4 bodies doesn't mean we have 4 physical bodies. One body is physical, the physical body, which we share in common with the mineral. Pretty self-explanatory body, it's the organs, it's everything we learn in biology class, right? The other 3 bodies are more, I guess you could say, metaphysical in nature. So let's just start with the etheric body, which we share in common with a plant or plants. Basically the unconscious body, basically the living body, and there's a lot to get into on it, but mainly I would say it's the unconsciousness body, and it's kind of the model shaping how our bodies will be. So yeah, I mean, it's basically, I guess you could explain it as like a perfect idea in which you're being sculpted, right? So you're growing and all of this stuff, right? But I would draw most importance to the unconsciousness part of it, and the part of it that we share with plants. So it's easy to say that like, oh well, plants are conscious and they're like, they would be the same as animals, they're also like, you know, on the same level, it would be the same thing. It's easier to say that because if you touch a plant, maybe its leaves will retract, or it will react in a certain way, but that's not the same sort of consciousness as we would get in an animal. That's merely the response of a physical touch or whatever it could be. It's merely the response of the plant to said stimulus. So it's not really that the plant is conscious because it's doing all of this stuff. It's more so that, I mean, I guess you could explain it as in a piece of iron. When you melt it down, it's changing states as a reaction to the heat doesn't mean a iron ingot is conscious. It merely means that it responded to an external stimulus. Now, I would say it's still living, right? But not exactly conscious. It would be more unconscious, right? And I guess I could say first that man shares all of these bodies that I'm going to talk about, which is why it's important to talk about all of them. But plants, I guess it's like a hierarchy. Every single one shares the ones beneath it. So plants share the mineral body and the unconscious etheric body, right? And then animals, which is the one we'll get into, they have the astral body, but they also share the unconscious and like the sleeping body, the etheric body, and the mineral body. So every tier of these includes all of the ones below it, right? In the species that will be equating them to. So yeah, now I've already been talking about it, but the astral body is the animal body. So it's the body that we share in common with animals, and plants do not have this. It's the consciousness body, really. And I mean, what is there to explain about this? I mean, mainly because I'm giving you like the most important stuff, right? There's a lot of other stuff you can talk about regarding this stuff, but I'm trying to give you guys the most important stuff. And I would say that in regards to the astral body, one of the more important things and one of the more interesting things is that this body it's with us during consciousness. We perceive, taste, touch, feelings of all of this stuff. It's with us, and it helps us perceive all of these, hunger, thirst, and everything like that, right? Pleasure, pain, all of that stuff. But during sleep, it separates from the body. So this is like explaining metaphysical theory, so don't take it as like an actual body separating, right? It separates from you during sleep and goes and gathers energy. That's why you feel rejuvenated in the mind after waking up. The reason is because of the astral body going and getting that energy for you. Now, of course, it's metaphysical theory, right? Alright, so I wanted to add a bit to the video that we have going here, especially about the astral body, since I don't think I explained it enough, and it's one of the most important ones, so I wanted to add a little bit. When we're dreaming, it's kind of a half state, because I was talking about it's separated, the astral body being separated from the etheric body, but really it's during our deepest sleep, our most rejuvenative sleep, the astral body is separated from the etheric body. But dream sleep is kind of in the middle of those. So during our dream sleep, it's kind of like it's sort of connected to the etheric body, but not really. That's why we have like these feelings in dreams, but we don't see anything, we don't hear anything, you know, the astral body isn't completely there, but we still have all of these things from our daily life, our conscious life, from the astral plane. And really it's the ego sharing the memories, right? Which I'll get into later. But yeah, I wanted to clarify that because it was kind of confusing. Like, dream sleep is a half step, then our most rejuvenative sleep is the full or almost full separation of the astral body, right? It goes and gets this energy, and that's why it's called astral body, by the way, because everything we eat is really eating sun energy, because the plants grew through sun energy. The animal meat that we're eating was from animals who were able to live because of that sun energy, eating it from the plants. So really we're getting the energy from stars always, and that's why it's called the astral body, because we're getting new energy from the stars or whatever, but it's more in theory, right? But the larger point is that we're being rejuvenated by this force. And yeah, I guess that's mainly the astral body. I think it's probably the most interesting one, and definitely motivated me to sleep more, right? So now we're gonna move on to the specifically human type of body, and this body is very, very, very unique. It's not even called a body really, although it's characterized as one of them. Again, with the 3+1 being a 4. I mean, I'm gonna make another video on that, but basically it's the 4 elements and stuff. It's always 3+1, but yeah, I'll get into that later. So the ego is the special one of these 4 bodies. You could say there are only 3, but the 4th one is the principle of the human, and such is the most advanced one. So I guess I could say that the ego is basically memory. Humans are able to imagine things, we can think of things in the future, we can think of things that don't exist, we can think of castles, clouds, we can think of whatever we want to think about, and we can look back in our memories reminiscing about when we did something. And yeah, it separates us from the animals, from the beasts, mainly due to the fact that we're able to understand stuff based on our memories. They understand mostly from instinct. So yeah, I guess that would be the main difference. And also the ego encapsulates knowing God, or not knowing God, but being able to perceive of the idea of God. So we're able to perceive that there could be a higher power, right? That's also a mainly human, or not mainly, it's only a human thing. Only humans think of God, and every human thinks of God. Every single human throughout civilization has thought of God. Even atheists think of God because they think that he's not real, right? So how come all of these tribes in different places have all thought of God? That's another unique thing with the ego. You could say it has to do with memory, and it has to do with us being able to think of the future and the past, not just living in the present like the animals. Alright, so again, another hopefully smooth transition. I wanted to explain about the ego, that another reason why it's only a human thing, the ego, and why it doesn't make sense, why it doesn't agree with the consciousness of the astral body, right? Because if we just had the astral body, then it would be logical. It would be hunger, thirst, pleasure, pain. It will be just these emotions ruling us. But humans also have the unique intellect of the ego, and the intellect doesn't have to be, because a lot of people think about like the intellect, oh well, it's just a response to, damn, that bird is loud, bro. It's just a response to wanting food and stuff, and thinking about like how can we get it, so it still agrees with the primal urges. But not really, because there are painters who will ruin their lives just to paint a single painting. And I'm gonna ruin my life by slaughtering this bird, bro, if it, oh my days. And now it got another bird. They're actually sabotaging my content. Alright. So the ego, oh my days, bro. So a painter, he can make a painting which will ruin his life. He just buys all of the supplies, he's broke, he's not earning any money, he knows he's not gonna earn any money from that painting, he knows it's gonna ruin his life, but he just gets absorbed in the painting. It becomes his purpose to create that painting. And if we're thinking about like how to get food, and especially how to get a stable supply of food, if that would be the primal urge, then we need to think like, why is this guy destroying his life just to make this painting? It doesn't equate to food. Keeping his job at McDonald's equates to food, but he quits his job just to make that painting, right? The job at McDonald's is a stable supply of food and house, even if it doesn't fulfill all of the higher needs, right? It has all of these primal consciousness, animal needs fulfilled, but you still make that painting, ruining your life without the prospect of really even believing that you're gonna get famous for it or you're gonna get money for it. Like, you don't even believe that, you just get possessed by this idea of, I have to make the painting, it's my purpose. And that's another unique thing with the ego. No animal would stop obtaining food just to make a painting in the sand, right? And yeah, that's a uniquely human thing. And also, like I was talking about with these needs, the ego is also all of the higher needs. So I'll put up on the screen Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And the bottom tier is like the primal needs, the animalistic needs, the food, the water, all of that stuff, right? All of those, I guess you could say, lower needs, right? And then the higher tiers are very ego unique tiers. They're very human unique tiers. And yeah, that's what I wanted to add in on this. Alright, so you may be confused with the change of scenery every single time, but I'm doing this to keep the mind fresh, because this is a great video. I've been researching this for like 3 weeks, just this specific thing as well, so I would hate it to be ruined by some brain fog and stuff. That's why we gotta keep up the movement. So the thing here is, I wanted to add that a lot of people confuse the memory of the ego as something that a astral body animal can get. However, astral body animals cannot get memory, because a lot of people can think of memory as a dog remembering who its owner is. However, it would be more appropriate to say that the dog doesn't remember the owner, it just gets the feeling of his needs are fulfilled when he's near the owner. So he gets a feeling of pleasure when the owner is near. Hence why if the owner is gone, it starts crying and stuff and all of this, because it gets that feeling of pleasure that I'm getting food, I'm getting living, like a house to live in, I'm getting all of this stuff, I'm getting water, I'm getting everything. Hence why it remembers the owner without having that memory component. And yeah, now I wanted to make a little summary at the end of the video here. So basically, the physical body is what we share with minerals. It's everything we learn in biology. The etheric body is, well, I guess it's kind of a spiritual copy of our body. That's probably the best way to explain it. Like, our body mimics the etheric body. We grow, we do all of this stuff. And if you lose a limb, that feeling of not having anything is because you're not connected to the etheric body of that part, and all of this stuff, they say, right? So that's basically the etheric body. It's the subconsciousness. It's what we have in common with plants. It's sleep, it's the unconscious, and I think it was theta brain waves, if you're into that kind of stuff. And then we have the consciousness body, the astral body, which we share in common with animals, which basically lets us feel all of the sensations: hunger, thirst, pleasure, pain, smell, touch, all of this stuff, right? And it's the body that gives us our energy after sleep. That's why we get rejuvenated after sleep. It gives us that energy, hence it's called astral. And it's also during the dream state, of course, it's in between the two. Sorry, it's in between being separated and being together with the etheric body, hence why we don't get like perfect perception, we don't get hunger and thirst and all of that stuff in our dreams. We may dream that we're thirsty and stuff, but we never feel the feeling of thirst. We never see anything because we don't have our eyes open. We never hear anything. It's directly going to the brain, so it's different. We don't have the sensations in our sleep, especially not our deep sleep, which the astral body is almost completely separated from the etheric body and the physical body. And lastly, we have the ego, the human mind. Really, its characteristics are the memory, and yeah, we can forget stuff. That's kind of the dying, the sleep, all of this stuff for the other bodies is reflected in the forgetfulness that we have with the ego, like the big flaw with it, right? And the ego is memory, it is the perception of things, and it's the ability of us to think of new things, so we can think up objects. That's why we made tools and stuff. A dog cannot think up, like we've seen some chimpanzees making tools or something, but I mean, I swear that wasn't making tools. They just like took a rock and beat something with a rock. Like, that's not making tools, that's just using a rock. I've never seen some fucking monkey, that sounded like racially motivated. I've never seen some monkey using bark from a tree to tie around a stick with a rock to make an axe or something. Like, I've never seen that. That's never gonna happen unless we can do some genetic modification possibly in the future, but I don't even think we could do that even then. So that's another characteristic of the human, and it's a very important characteristic. That's something that we're gonna talk about a lot more. It's our minds, it's our ability to think of things that we haven't seen, and to consider both the past and the future, not just the present like an animal, because all animals, they live in the present, right? They're searching for food, they're doing this, they're doing that, and they derive pleasure from searching for the food also. So it's not just like them thinking forward of when they eat the food or something. It's shown in studies that most of our dopamine is from the pursuit of something. So like when we're gambling, we have high dopamine while we're gambling, not just when we win, because every time you press that button, there's a chance of you winning. And yeah, they did a big study with rats and that stuff to confirm that. So they really just go out and hunt. They follow all of their emotions. We humans can go against our emotions, like in the painting example. And yeah, I mean, I didn't mean for the summary to be about half of the video. But yeah, it's important to have it summarized like this at the last stage of the video, I think, because it helps way better for you to retain the information. And even just having heard it 2 times, the key points of this is definitely important, because we have the unconsciousness state and the conscious state. 90% of the day you're unconscious, you're just moving. It's like when you're driving, you're like, how did I end up here? Because you're not conscious when you're driving, and we're not conscious most parts of the day. Hence why it's better to have the information 2 times, and even if those times, both times are unconscious, there's a less chance of both times being unconscious. But even if both are unconscious, you're still retaining that information, like I explained in another video. But yeah, I guess that's the end of this video. Maybe I'll make some more footnotes or something, so you can see like I'm jumping around to a lot of different places. And yeah, I'll let the me of the past finish the video. That's basically the main fear of this stuff, and I'll be making other videos about how to utilize this, and also the soul principles and a lot of more advanced stuff adding on to this. So yeah, see you, bro.